Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Their Story Matters. And this story does matter today, folks. I'm your host, Sara, and my beautiful guest here is Feroze Dada. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This story really has warmed my heart. Every now and again, there's one that just gets hold of me and doesn't let go. And in putting this beautiful posting together, there were so many pictures that just captured me, and I wanted to put them all in there. So you have a lovely little collage on the blog of all these pictures that capture exactly the journey that he has taken. And it is a beautiful journey. In order to honor it, I'm going to actually read it out in his words so that you can get a little synopsis of what we're going to be talking about today. Children of the Revolution, a spiritual journey to Burma and Buddhism, a powerful and compelling story of heroism and hope by Feroze Dada, endorsed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The Children of the Revolution is truly an inspiring story about Feroze Dada, a chartered accountant from London, and his chance meeting with a freedom fighter and a Buddhist monk in the Myanmar, I may probably pronouncing that wrong, which transforms the lives of a great many orphaned and abandoned children. Being looked after in a remote monastery on the shores of Lake Inle. By making this monastery, sorry, what's it called?
Lake Inle.
Inle. By making this monastery financially independent, setting up a drinking watering plant, and establishing a teaching program at the same time, this journey takes and provides him with a deep and enduring sense of purpose and self-discovery. Well, folks, we know what this is all about, don't we? Because you are on Self-Discovery Radio, and it is about this beautiful redirects that take us to our meaningful purpose. It doesn't mean that everything we've done before wasn't purposeful. Very often we find it set us up for the real journey that we really do have to make in life. And boy, have you had an exciting journey. Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you. It's lovely to be on the show. And thank you for a great show.
I mean, I really am really stoked by this, because it's so many people in life are looking for a meaning of life. You know, what does life mean? What am I really here for? Yes, I have a good job. I have a lovely wife and children. I'm, you know, the picket fence, the 2.2 kids and all that. How come I still don't feel connected, or, you know, still looking for what life is about? And when you're willing just to take a journey and go with the flow, and take those things that look at the time as they might be dangerous because you got caught in a storm that led you to this, right? This was literally divine intervention putting you on your path. And from that storm, look at what has evolved, and just what a beautiful gift to you and also to those children. And what a start you're giving them in their life. The opportunities and the possibilities they will now have because of this. So this is why I'm so stoked to have you here today. Chartered accountant to where you are now. Would you have believed it?
I think that sometimes you have a door in your mind, you open it and you walk through it.
Yeah.
And I think it's Rumi, the great philosopher Rumi, who said, you know, live where you fear to live. Forget safety. That doesn't mean forget physical safety,
right?
But go beyond your imagination. And as an accountant, you're not trained to do that. You've got
no, completely opposite.
completely the opposite. However, if you are seeking a spiritual journey,
wobbly, stay with us, folks.
And really, I think being in that zone, if you like, or having the opportunity to pursue something spiritual, it really begins by wanting to seek something.
Yeah.
It comes from within. It comes from a desire to want to know yourself, a desire to discover yourself, always asking questions, always seeking. Because again, too many quotes, but I would say, Buddha said, he said, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. Yes. And actually, even more important, if the student is completely ready, the teacher disappears.
Yes.
So in many many ways, you have to open your mind and walk into the unknown. Only then will you discover something amazing, and not to fear that.
No, it's not to be feared. The trouble is our head, if we're just there. This little box up here, we're running on programming, on data, input. We calculate it, we assess it. But if you don't bring the heart, the soul, and the spirit into the equation, all you're doing is running on limited data. When the heart connects with it and the spirit wants to get into action because it trusts the soul's knowledge, you now know what you need to know when you need to know it. And you understand there's all this information. It's just beautiful knowledge, but without the wisdom on how to use the knowledge, it is purely knowledge. So you have to switch on those other beautiful senses in order to work as a functioning whole human being.
I'm going to catch on to your word, switch on. I think switch on is the most important thing. How do you switch on? See, words don't switch you on, I'm afraid. Because you listen to words all the time. If people listen to this conversation, switch on, we'll all be so enlightened. But switch on is actually a difficult process.
Yes, it is.
I remember, and this is going back to the story of the spiritual journey to Burma part, if you like. Before I left for Burma, the night before, I met this man, a spiritual man. And he said to me, Feroze, I'll take you on as a student, really important point. But I'm going to say something to you which you need to bear in mind. He said, and I'm going to read it because to miss something would be terrible. He said, you cannot know the truth by reading, studying, lecturing, thinking. Close those doors. Only then in stillness the doorway of the heart will begin to open. Now, but he did another thing. That is the switch, actually. The switch is to pass that source of energy from one person to another, from a teacher to a student. Once the switch is on, it's up to you then to find a way. Once the light is ignited, you have to fan the flames.
Yes.
And I didn't know, of course.
Right.
As it happened, I didn't know where it was going to lead. I didn't even know. But when I look back from the journey, I look back and see, oh my goodness, we've achieved so much. We achieved the impossible. Why was that? How was that? And actually, it takes time to understand this. At first, I have to admit, I felt, I was amazing. But soon I realized that actually events were happening in a sort of sequence. Anything I needed, I got. The universe was beginning to answer my call, actually not my call. The universe was beginning to answer the call of the children.
Yes, yes, yes. You were their switch.
And I have to say, there's not one children, two children. There were 1,200 children. Out
You've been busy.
And so I soon realized after this journey, if you like, it's not over, but that actually it wasn't me. It was the call of the children. I'll give you an example. May I give you an example? And this repeats itself from time to time. I remember the water factory was running, the children are drinking good, clean water in one of the most remote parts of Burma. They were beginning to sell the bottled water, so there's enough money coming in for food. So the next step I thought was to have a clinic for the children, because of still illnesses and diseases, because the way it's just impossible. The water is going to help a lot, but also there needed to be some cures for so many children living together.
Right.
Infections.
You've also got the broken bones that always happen with children as well, right? So.
But at this point in time, having succeeded with the water factory, money raising wasn't a particular problem. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but actually in a way,
It wasn't the
people,
focus.
we delivered, so it was only a question of asking people, and they would. So they gave enough money for the clinic, and the building was ready and commissioned. Beautiful red brick building with a sign saying Red Cross, and amazing. But I remember as we launched the opening ceremony for the building, I was in the boat going from the monastery, and these are canoe boats, and the airport is about 5 hours away on the boat. This is a little boat taking off. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, yes, I think we've got a building, but which doctor is going to come here?
Right.
And how am I going to get
this? But then you build it and they will come?
Well, no, I was looking for inspiration. I was looking for ideas, thinking, feeling, almost praying, actually, I would say. And I'll make the story shorter. It could the larger, the bigger stories, you need to read the book. But
yes, exactly.
I remember really wishing for the universe to deliver, almost challenging the universe to deliver. And I ended up at the airport. This is Heho Airport, which is a small airport. Virtually nobody is there, certainly at that time. And I'm standing outside, just basking in the last of the sunshine. And this woman starts walking towards me. Well, I'm quite used to that anyway. Right, yeah. Sorry.
Not deterred by that. Whoop, another wobbly. He'll be back.
But anyway, she walks towards me and starts chatting. I say, wait. And she asked me why.
There with us, folks. Internet.
And I can to sell. And I said, okay, I don't have a copy, but why don't you give me your email? Okay. And she types her email. So I'm not going to read out her name. Well, I can because it's in the book. It says Jane X, right? At NHS, which is National NHS.org.uk. Okay?
You asked.
I looked at her and I said, you shouldn't have given me your email. Okay. Sorry, then I think she didn't quite understand.
Right.
She disappeared, obviously, thought I was in that case. Goes away. And then 3 months later, I get an email. And she says to me, I have read your book once. I've read your book twice. What can I do to help you? I said, thank you. But we're opening the clinic on, I think it was 7th of November or something like that in that year. So that was 6 months away. I said, if you want to help, please turn up on the 1st of November and start the clinic.
Yes.
Do you know something? Not one doctor, but 2 doctors turned up. Not on the 7th opening date, but 10 days before.
To get it ready.
Worked tirelessly, put the clinic in place for the opening ceremony when I arrived.
Wonderful.
What I guess I'm saying is that this is only one. She then wrote an article in the medical journal saying I met this crazy guy in Heho Airport and it's changed my life. She spends virtually all her time there. Right. And she's a team of people from Scotland, all coming to the monastery for the clinic and manning the clinic, looking after even nurse training.
Right.
So this is an example of how many things, if I look for an engineer, I got 2. If I look for a literary agent, I got 2. I mean, it's been bizarre. So
no, but you're just really just channeling. What you do here is a lot of people realize. I mean, you talked about praying. You can pray anywhere in any way. It doesn't matter. A loving thought intent, a good vibration. When you desire something, you can be in the midst of anything and send out that vibration because it's all energy, it's all frequency. And when we talk about channeling, it's just that. You remember the old analog radios where you can turn in and get that channel in between? Now we're all digital. We're going to predisposed channels, but you want that little channel in between. open that up and say, this is the need, you know, this is the need, and open up that channel, and then get out of the way and pay attention to the signs. A lot of people go through life and don't realize they've been answered, but they didn't realize, you know, oh, this crazy woman, just give her a book and dismiss it. No, you didn't dismiss it, right? You sent her, you know, the invite, you gave the invitation. I always say it's inspiration for invitation. If you've inspired somebody enough, it invites them to step up in the way they're meant to step up. And you sent out an invitation. And she not only took it, but she shared it. And that beautiful domino effect that happens, right? People say, I'm only one person, I can't make a difference. Yes, you can. Step into your passion, what you love to do that serves mankind. That inspiration will invite someone else to join you. Ripple effect.
Sara, what I was really trying to say is that you very kindly said so much had been achieved. But the truth of the matter is so much has been achieved by so many people.
Yes.
In this process.
Yes.
I was thinking I was a big shot here, but
you're the conductor. You know, you've asked other people who have perfected their instrument to join your orchestra. And you're the conductor. You've brought people together, and now together they're creating a beautiful symphony that's resonating out to the world.
Right? Quote you. I'm going to use those words.
No, please do those. That's my chant all the time. Go ahead, please do. But this is the thing about life, is that we're looking for that meaningful purpose. That's something. I mean, as I say, you can have a good job and everything else, but if the core of you, the heart and the soul of you and your spirit doesn't feel connected, it doesn't feel that your instrument is really reaching out to the world, to the universe, because that's what it's about here, folks. You know, you go in seeking, and you have to be open to possibilities and opportunities and see them from all bizarre angles. You know, you cannot go by a manual. You cannot go by dictation. You have to allow and surrender to receiving. Then pay attention to that big word, signs. Because nothing is going to come to you in a big neon sign flashing. It's going to come in the unusual. And again, don't go, oh, is this it? You know, just go with the flow, whatever it is, whether it's a redirection to meet this person and that person and that person, it's go with it, allow it to happen. An artist very rarely knows what they're going to draw. Or get that paintbrush and off they go, and look at the masterpiece they create.
Can I quote something? Just you said something really perfect to me. Again, I use Rumi, because Rumi is a great Sufi philosopher. He said, on the path of love, we are neither masters nor the owners of our lives. We are only a brush in the hand of the master painter.
Yes, and that challenging of that master comes through us and creates these masterpieces. And this is another thing. We're in a society right now where so many people feel alone. And, you know, so many people are depressed, which is really more sadness and a disconnection, because we're seeing society wants constantly to separate us instead of unite us. When you step into something that's meaningful and purposeful, and in your own self-discovery, understand your part in that collective, and you see that ripple effect, just you going there, starting things off with the water and the computers. Let's not forget that when they say, you need computers, we don't have electricity, let's get solar panels here. You know, the thing is, there's a problem, here's a solution. How are we going to make it happen? It's not saying we can't make it happen. It's, this is the need, let's go and do it. And you need somebody on every project that looks at something as a need and looks at a way to provide. And people are looking for an opportunity to be a part of something.
Sara, there are two other things really that one should, if you're looking to on that journey, on that achievement, if you like, on that journey of helping people, then there are two other ingredients which are really, really important. The first is knowing, you're having some physical skills. In other words, knowing what you're doing. It's good to be inspired. It's great to be inspired, but if it's not within your, you know, wisdom, within your capacity, even though it could be a challenging situation.
It's not your instrument.
So I think that's one thing, to realize, you know, what you're capable of doing and using it intelligently.
Yes.
That's really important. For me to say I'm going to go and play in a symphony orchestra tomorrow morning is unrealistic.
Yeah.
I need to be a musician to do it.
Right.
So in a way, knowing that putting up a water factory requires many different experiences, many different talents or training, my accounting skills came to good use.
Mm-hmm.
I know my understanding of business was really important
Right.
here.
Yes.
My context
Yes.
were believable.
Mm-hmm.
So those are using those things for a good cause.
Your instrument.
Yeah.
Right.
So, so being intelligent, using your skills, maximizing them, your contacts are important features in achievement. Secondly, what is really important is some sort of way of being peaceful inside, being focused in what you do, being single-minded, and that part is important. And if you don't mind, I can tell you a story.
Yes,
May I
please.
tell you a story?
Yes.
May I? Okay. True story. Another true story. So, I remember being at the monastery, maybe it was 3-4 years, the water factory was running, the children amazingly happy, the monk wise and teaching them well. I understood Buddhism, and said, he's such a master of Buddhism. That's why all these children are amazing. But I knew I was missing something at that point. I said to the monk, I said, "Monk, you're hiding something from me. Maybe you're taking some drugs. I don't know what."
What's your happy pill?
So, why are these people all singing and dancing all day long, and working hard?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said to him, "Look, I'm going to follow you from the moment you get up to the time you sleep. I'm sure you're not telling me everything."
Mm-hmm.
He laughed and said, "Okay, if you want to start when I start, it's 3:30 in the morning." This is freezing temperatures, middle of December. He said, "I will see you in the pagoda outside the Buddha's image, and I'll be sitting doing my meditation. Come join me." I remember, but I tell you, sir, I divert to a funny story. That night I was quite excited to go, but the monk, usually we used to sleep on the floor, my wife and I, with all the insects and so on. This time monk said, he must have thought, look, let's give them some comfort. So he got an air mattress. It must have been third hand or right. Punctured. So, but it hadn't gone completely. It was a very slow puncture. So, which meant that my wife is sort of petite and small, and I'm not large, but I'm twice her size maybe. And so every time I turned, of course, she went up in the air.
Oh dear.
So we had an amusing night, however, and I had to get up at 3:30. Anyway, I crawled out of this air mattress at 4 a.m. and made my way towards the pagoda. And I saw him sitting, in meditation. Again, he's such a wise man. He had a mat next to him, position next to him, so that I wouldn't disturb him. But more importantly, he was optimistic that I would turn up.
Yes.
Anyway, I turned up. We sat down. I knew my Sufi meditation, so I sat with him, and so maybe half an hour went by. Then he turned around and he took my hands and said, "Look, let us meditate together for humanity." And so we were sitting here, and that's about the time the children begin to enter the pagoda. And the next 15 minutes later, I looked around. We were surrounded by all these children, maybe 500-600 children, little monks, all sitting quietly, watching these two old men holding hands.
In the Western world, it would be perceived something else. Right? Yes.
Mine too, I find that. But anyway, then he turned to the children and he said, "Okay, we're going to meditate together." He started chanting, then started meditating. And at that point, I began to realize something was happening in my head, These chants were like sparks of electricity. They were not normal sounds. They were really amazing sounds. Anyway, it all finished, and I knew I was on to something, by the way, at this point. So I said to the monk, "What sort of meditation were you doing?" And he said, "I was doing Vipassana meditation." Now, Vipassana meditation, I discovered later, is 2,500 odd years old. This is what Buddha used to do
Right.
for his enlightenment. That was his way of meditation. But there is, I said to monk, teach me, this is magic. He said, I'm sorry, I can't teach you. You have to go to a Vipassana meditation master. I said, where? He said, not too many around, even in Burma.
Right, yeah. Yes.
Anyway, to cut a long story short, I managed to go. But it does entail 10 days of intensive meditation, starting at 4 a.m., finishing at 9 p.m., no communication, no talking, no nothing. It's complete shutdown. And I realized then, actually, that the magic of the monastery was not just Buddhism. It was the spiritual practice of meditation.
Yes.
So it was keeping them in these peaceful and amazing sort of way. Yeah. I knew I'd nailed it by then.
Right, right. And I have a beautiful ex-monk called Miguel Pascal, and I've had him on a couple of times, and he's got a beautiful Om song right now that he's been doing with the Earth, Wind and Fire, and it's like 11 minutes of just Om. It's just beautifully transcending, and he takes people into Times Square because he said it's all very well to meditate in silence, but you need to find your peace in your meditation in the chaos. And this is the thing, a lot of people who do meditation, especially in the Western world, they're doing it in a quiet spot and then wonder why they lose their cool when they get out amongst the chaos. And it's always being able to go back and find your center, isn't it? Being able to go in and find that center, which of course happens in the breath and which leads you down there. And I think this is what the difference is with a lot of cultures. Some cultures don't live the external life first, they live the internal life first. And when you go from the inside out, you bring that peace out with you. So you create the tranquility around you that you want, right? You project it, you resonate it. But we are so busy in our chaos that we just don't know how to get there. And if we all just took a breath, slow down, and learn to go from the inside out, we would be much more peaceful creatures.
Buddha said, of course, he said, peace lies within. Don't seek it out. You know. But you know something, that the real peace, real meditation, real spiritual exercise does need commitment and needs more. You need to be regular in what you practice.
Yeah.
It's not. My monk told me this is not a sort of
dip in and out.
Pleasure. Yeah. It's an exercise of seeking wisdom and peace.
Yeah.
It is much deeper.
Yes.
And a lot of, sadly, I would say, a lot of this process of mindfulness and meditation is so superficial.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing; it's better than nothing.
Yes.
However, people really ventured further and began to seek real sort of.
It's just a door opener. It's just a door opener. It's opened up the crack. And if you really want to immerse yourself into it, you've got to be willing to open up the whole door and fully immerse yourself in. Now, and I mean, the meditation too is also different. This is, again, from doing about 1,200 shows now, I realize that there are so many different styles of meditation. And, for some people, it is purely being out in nature. And in that nature, they find that connection. For me, it's wind and music. That is really, really transcends me. I'm back up in the universe. I'm in literally my space. And we have to find out where it is that it opens up our door. And that brings in our peace, because it isn't, just the one size that fits all. Find out what it is for you. But the big thing, as you said, is commitment to it. Commitment to it, because that's what's going to feed you, your soul, your heart, and your spirit every day, for you to go out and resonate and deal with whatever else is out there in life.
But Sara, I just add something else to that. I think you do need a master. You do need somebody who's already traveled that path, because this path is a very new path for somebody embarking on it, and you need a little bit of help.
Yes.
Direct.
It's that musical instrument. You're not going to perfect it on your own. You need the teacher, right? But again, each instrument, different teacher, different techniques. And that's the thing, is find somebody who resonates, technique that you resonate with. It's not, a lot of people, it's yoga. Well, it's not yoga for everyone. You know, you get me on the floor, you need a crane to get me back up. It's not my style, right? But it's find out what it is that is your conduit, that is your opener. And then you need to find somebody that's within that style that can help you truly center, open up, and allow in. And then it's practice makes perfect, right? Just immerse yourself in it.
And often it involves breath. Really,
Yes.
breath is your
It's the key.
breath
Mm-hmm.
is key. Yes.
Is key. Everything in life is about the breath, the moment you're born. You know, the last breath you take, when we're excited or when we're agitated or, you know, when we're surprised or when we have an aha moment, everything is breath first before anything else. So we have to understand the value of breath and how important it is, but also how even just taking 3 deep breaths before you react to anything can already have a centering point. So before that mouth opens, 3 deep breaths, and then the dialogue will change, you know. So,
and you know, the other things I learned, which are in the book, is the monks' explanation of what is really fundamentally important as a good human being. We talked about our spiritual side, but there's actually a sort of moral, logical side too. And the 2 or 3 things that he mentioned, which I'm happy to share with you and your listeners.
Yes, please.
Do that. For example, probably top of the pops, if you like, in the Buddhist.
Yes. For people in North America, Top of the Pops was a music show with all the music people went to get discovered. Yes, I remember it well.
So I think number 1 is to realize that you're impermanent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if I
especially
think
in this vessel,
particularly in this vessel,
yes.
I think somebody, the editor of my book described it this way. He said, we need to accept that existence is both a precious moment and a continuous becoming. I thought it was beautiful.
The continuous becoming is our soul and our spirit continues on after this vessel.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it has its exit. Yeah.
So I think realizing that everything which is material is going to change. It changes, and actually it fades, it diseases and dies. You're not going to take things with you.
No.
You know? And life is
much the Faras tried. It didn't work.
God, we realized that, you know, it's going to end very quickly, and changes will take place every moment in time. So I realize impermanence and mortality, really. People I've interviewed, and I'm sure you have too, who said, my life changed because I had cancer. Or my life changed because I was involved in an accident. Why? Because they are beginning to face mortality, realizing that time will be up.
Well, I watched that interview that you did, and you know, with the doctor on the cancer, and I've interviewed a lot of people with cancer, and every single one of them have said it was a gift. It was a gift because. Sorry.
What a paradox.
Yes, but it's the self-discovery that, you know, we know that cancer is about an 80% emotional disease. And it's, you know, 20% obviously environment, diet, and everything else, but, and that it's completely curable and in so many ways naturally, obviously with proper natural help, but naturally. And all the people I've interviewed realized it was their emotions, the turmoil inside of them that was manifesting in this way. And that when they changed around their emotion, when they started feeding themselves with self-love, self-care, and really valuing who they were and wanting to live for something beyond themselves, along obviously with the external help, they found their way back to a more meaningful life. And it's everything that is said, without the cancer, I would not be doing this right now. That has so much meaning to me and so much contribution to humanity.
Couldn't have put it better. I must interview you. Number 2 on my chart. Number 2.
Great.
Sorry, there's this particular order. I would say karma, understanding what.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, we can't look at it in a different way, don't we? But yeah, it's.
In other words,
people karma from what you've learned from the monks?
Well, basically, he described it this way: that if you plant a papaya, you put a papaya seed in the ground, you will only get papaya. You only get, if you put a melon seed, you get melons.
Yes.
Which means that if you do positive things, positive words, positive actions, positive thoughts, yes, then the effect is only positive and can lead to happiness.
Yes.
You know, I think understanding that.
Yeah.
Understanding that positive words, actions, and thoughts can only help you.
And also, you know, a lot of people's argument has been to that, oh yeah, it's all very la la la, but reality is out there. But you know, the thing is, you actually can change your reality in your surroundings, choosing, you know, I say positive thinking equals positive living. And it's choosing to feed what is possible, choosing to feed those opportunities, choosing to see life in a better light. That doesn't mean you're not seeing what's in front of you right now, but you're choosing from that negative to take something positive, even if it's just a lesson. You know, I use a lot what's going on in North America right now, which everybody's up in arms and outraged over. And I say, take that outrage, look to your neighbor, black, white, pink, yellow, different religion, different race, different anything, and look at each other as a human race and say, how can we elevate ourselves? How can we rise up together? How can we step into love, kindness, and caring towards each other and become a better humanity? Because we're seeing what the dregs of society are. This is an invitation for us to rise up and be better together. It's such a wonderful opportunity at this time to become a better human being.
So, number 3 on the Buddhist charts, but in no particular order, is compassion. But I think people will say, oh, we understand compassion, but I want to say something slightly different. I want to say detached compassion. And by that I mean you do all the things, you feel all the things that other people should feel, that you empathize and act properly. However, if you fall with the person who's fallen, if that's the right way to put it, maybe that's not the right way to put it. But if you can stand still, you can stand upright and look and help objectively, then it is useful not for just for yourself, but also for the other person.
Yes.
The last thing they want is people crumbling all over them.
Right, exactly. I've been a spiritual teacher, counselor all my life. It doesn't matter what I did, people found me. It was just the God's path chosen for me. But the trouble is I'm an empath and I'm a feeler because I'm an emotional healer. So I have to feel the emotions to know what to do. But it can be very painful. And so it's something I don't do very much anymore because I rather celebrate the people out there that are doing the work. It's my redirect. But it's so interesting. In order to be really good at helping someone, sometimes you have to step back and you empathize, but you can't immerse yourself into that feeling or you will crumble. And they're needing your understanding and your empathy, but they're also needing your constructiveness. And it's really hard to do that if you start bawling with them, right? So that compassion is in what will help them move forward from the pain. And so
I think looking at what Buddha said about this helps you reconcile this point. He said, no one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path.
Absolutely.
Now, that's so important because we think we can change the destiny of another human being.
No.
You cannot do that.
No.
So if you realize that is the situation, you can allow them to travel their path.
Right.
Because you don't know where their path is going to take them.
That's
you
their
don't
journey. No,
you're making a judgment.
No, exactly. You're dictating. You can't dictate another person's life. All you can do, as you know, as a parent, we're custodians of our children. Our job is there to nurture, to love, to support, and to guide them. But most importantly, give them the tools they need to put in their backpack on their journey of life. Then you send them with that light and that love and that energy. And along the way, they're going to meet their other teachers, their other wise ones, their other people that are going to give them more tools. It's preparing them for that journey. And all you can do as a coach, a counselor, a tutor, or anything else is do not dictate the path they should take. All you do is give them the instruments that they need or prepare them for being in a state of being to take that journey. But we have to realize as human beings, it's not your fault, it's not blame you did this to me. No, your reaction is to what someone did to you, but you actually have power over your reaction. You can choose to take that pain and divert it into something positive and become empowered by it. That is the choice we have as human beings. So we have to realize we are responsible and accountable, and we have the power within us to make those choices.
And with the detachment, I would also talk about attachment.
Yeah.
Attachment, I mean attachment to material things, attachment to people too.
Yeah.
If you realize that you're impermanent, everything is going to change, then don't get too attached to the goods that you have, the material thing. Yes, of course, if you have a Ferrari, enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with enjoying it. If it goes away, you crash it or whatever you do, don't cry about it. It's only a Ferrari, at the end of the day.
Yes.
And even if it's a human being, they have their path to lead you.
Right.
So I think if you can reconcile both detached compassion and not be attached to things, particularly material things, then I think you'd have a happier life. That does not mean you shouldn't be compassionate. It does not mean that you shouldn't enjoy all the lovely things that are available to us, but don't get obsessed and attached to them. I think
it's much like what you've done. You saw a need, you were moved, the compassion and the passion came out of you to want to help these children, but then you went into your practical mode of, how can I? Had you become so emotional and given up everything and I'm going to work at the monastery, that wouldn't have been as productive of you stepping into your instrument and playing it well, because you have allowed all those other instruments to come to the monastery and help these children. Look, not only the health and the education, but the empowerment that you're giving them. And look what future they now stand to have because of that. And that's where we need to understand it's not about throwing yourself into something in a way that you sacrifice yourself. It's using whatever instrument you have to empower others' lives because of what you've got.
And when people say, oh, how lucky these children are, I would say, how lucky am I?
Yes.
Lucky am I to be given this opportunity, this marvelous opportunity to help. I can't believe it. It's just remarkable.
Do you remember the movie years and years and years ago, Mr. Chips?
I do, but I don't.
Right, there's a wonderful scene between his wife and the now the master of the school. It was around a boarding school, and a showgirl married the professor that eventually became the master of the school, and he turned to her and said, "I'm sorry that we never had children," and she said, "I had thousands of them." Right, because all of the boys going through. And that's the thing is, I am a mother, and for me it was a very important role. But for a lot of people, they're realizing they can still be the mother and the nurturer, but they can do it to other lost children in the world that need that love, because we know that taking a child into the arms and giving it a hug, and I'm not just talking a child, I'm talking every living thing, we need the hugs too. Those arms around with love and compassion is nectar to the soul, nectar to the heart, not only for them, but for us as well. And it doesn't always have to be our own.
But really, I blame my wife for it completely.
Of course, a man always blaming the wife.
She's from Burma.
Right.
Although we'd never been there until because Burma was a closed country for a long time. And I blame her because she took us all there. And that's
no, you don't blame her, you bless her. What wise woman she was. She had no idea the journey that you were about to go on, but obviously intuitively knew you had to do it. So bless her.
The number the Buddhist chart, sorry, the last thing I'd like to say on this, and it is humility. I think the ego is one of the biggest problems. And we
Yes.
talked a little bit about my ego, thinking that I so
Yeah.
amazing, but realizing actually not so. It was everybody else. But I think if we are able to understand our mortality, and always listen to somebody else's perspective too, then life would be easier. You'd understand things much better if you didn't pass judgment on people and their actions, So I think humility and exercising, I think what did Buddha again say? He said, wear your ego like a loose garment, so you can take it off
Easily take off.
quickly.
And the thing is you could be very proud of what you've done and your achievement. Please be proud. That is an achievement. Own it. It's a wonderful gift that's given to you. But the ego, I always say, place importance upon yourself. The importance of self is the nurturing, the love, the self-love that you can now share with everyone else. But self-importance that's derived by ego and insecurity, me, myself, and I, the very narcissistic approach to things, serves no one. No one benefits from it at all. And I think what we realize is the more we give away, the more we receive. And when we're able to do things for other people, we may never know how it actually impacted this person or that person. But you always know in the ether of the vibration, of the loving vibration. And it's in that knowingness that you get it, that you know.
The first visit there when we were starting the computer class, I remember Farida, my wife, and I worked intensively in this really difficult conditions at the early part of our journey at the monastery, sleeping on the floor, all insects, hardly anything to eat. And at the end of the course, the monk said, "Oh, would you like to say something to the children?" And they all clapped and said how wonderful we were. And I remember so clearly. I said, "Do you know something? I learned more from you than I've ever learned from anybody. The way you conducted yourself with dignity. We had 6 computers, and they were sharing, 4 of them sharing. And you know what they'd say? I never seen that before. Not saying my turn, my turn.
Right.
All of them were saying your turn, your turn. Yeah. You first, you first. Now this type of, and always happy, always grateful. And I was learning things I'd not seen before. Certainly not with our children.
Right. Yeah.
So that was really the catalyst. I realized that I was in a place which was giving me so much, right from the beginning.
Right.
And so,
go ahead.
No. I think what I'm saying is that one gets more often you give.
Oh yes. The youngest person I've interviewed was 9 at the time, and she had written a book, 365 Days of Gratitude with a Positive Attitude. And when I interviewed her, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. She's a child. And it was purely the centering of her simplicity. If something around you is not making you happy, go and find something that does make you happy. Don't wallow, right? And all of these were just simple little statements. And I realized, as adults, in this highfalutin of we're so sophisticated, we're so educated, we're so knowledgeable, the simple truths and the simple answers we ignore because we're always looking for something more profound. The profound is in the simplicity. It's simply in the love. It's simply in the giving, the caring, the receiving, the allowing, the now. And our children, and especially our children right now, the wisdom in these children right now is unbelievable. And we're also seeing it in the animal kingdom, and how the animals are just showing us compassion and how to love, and that it doesn't matter what species we are. It's all about the vibration of love, the frequency that you resonate on. It's a really exciting time to be seeing these things because there is such a beautiful awakening going on. And it's awakeners like you. You are that catalyst to bringing this beautiful monastery and these children to the world, which is an education for other people to see such simple joy. How many children are in that orphanage? Nobody's killing each other. No one's stabbing each other. No one's stealing from each other. They're there as a united source to help and enable and love each other. If that is not a lesson, I don't know what is.
What can I say? I'm lucky.
Yes, blessed. But we all seek that, don't we? We all want to have something in our lives that is bigger than us, that is of meaning for us. You know, my legacy now is my radio network. Been doing it 5 years, got 2,000 collective shows in here, and I call it the Orchard of Wisdom. Because if you're looking for something to try and understand, the best way to understand is from somebody else's journey. You know, where they came from, what they had to go through, and realize we all have to go through something. There's no quick app, no avoiding, nobody paying someone else to do it for you. We've all got to go through the process. But what we become is like the caterpillar into the butterfly, what we become on the other side of it. And that aha moment of who we are and what we're really here for, and how we're really here to serve one another with love, with gratitude, with joy. That's when we truly understand what humanity is really about. And that's when I think we really start living.
Well, you know, I think if we talk anymore, nobody's going to buy the book.
Actually, I want to know more. You know, the book itself, obviously endorsed by Dalai Lama, which is beautiful. But I also want to talk about the water, because I know that each bottle, you know, feeds a child for the day. You know, how people get that. And I know that it's got more purities in it than most water, so it's not just a bottled water from a tap. So can you give us a little more on the water from the lake, and obviously the book, and also how people can really support the orphanage?
Yes. Well, first of all, it's not just orphan children. It'd be wrong for me to say that there are poor children, abandoned children, and
right.
orphan. So just not to say that.
Mm-hmm.
The water is actually spring water. Mm-hmm. So it's got all the nutrients. I remember that one of the biggest difficulties is that places like Burma only have reverse osmosis water, which is water which is stripped out, you know, completely. It's clean, but all the ingredients are...
Yes, no nutrients at all.
Yeah, and because it lasts a long time and it's cheaper and so on, this was a particularly difficult challenge to have good water for the children. So that's an achievement, is good mineral water with all the nutrients. Tastes beautiful as well. I should have got a bottle to show you. But
got it here on the banner, folks. Please.
Oh, good for you. Okay. So you have to be in Burma to buy it. And you have it only available in the lake area, because it's still a small factory. It's not an international. Right. And much of the water is consumed around the lake. So that's great, because that's really what is needed, is for people to drink the water, be good. So they can't buy it elsewhere, I'm afraid, yet.
That's next phase.
Having said that, it's important that this factory is run by the monks and the children. It gives them training and so on, and they must work it in a way that suits them, rather than in some ambitious way that will suit a business achievement.
Right.
I think that is the water. What else did you? How can we?
But if people may not be able to buy the water unless they go there, but they could still actually purchase the water, even for the buy it and disperse it somewhere else, so that it supports the children.
I think the way to support is to support the children generally, because we always have projects that are happening. For example, give you an example of I'm going on the 25th of this month to start a very exciting project. It is actually a teachers training center.
Oh.
Yes, a teachers training center, meaning that because the way that it may seem remarkable, but a lot of the exam papers are in English. Don't ask me why.
Right.
But teachers can hardly speak English, and the children struggle to speak English.
Right.
Consequently, they fail. Because not because of lack of trying or commitment, because of language skills.
Don't understand. Right.
Yes, there's a limit to that. Next point is that teachers don't really know how to teach. It's just rote fashion.
Right.
So we have the most amazing opportunity that is going to take place from 30th of July. Teachers from Charterhouse School in England, which is probably one of the most famous public schools in the United Kingdom, a delegation of them are going to come and start a pilot project with us
Oh.
to teach the teachers, not just at the monastery, but the teachers around Shan State, around the lake area. We are hoping that as we progress this project, the children from Charterhouse School will come and teach the children English.
Right.
And the monastery children would teach the Charterhouse children meditation. So we have this amazing thing, which is the poorest school in the world, probably, and probably the richest school in the world.
Beautiful.
Joining forces.
Yes.
So what I am saying is this, that it's better to support the Inle Trust, which actually carries out all these projects.
Yes.
It's a transparent, registered charity. We report everything that goes on, and new projects come up from time to time. And it's best to go down that route because it's a much more transparent.
Yeah, and you also know where the money needs to go to, which is
exactly.
the one thing.
Because it's a moving feast.
Yes.
But, so I would.
I'm going to ask you the site in a moment, but I just want to ask a question here while it's in the thought. Is how long have you been doing this?
8 years.
So in that 8 years, you know, some of the older children, where have you seen them go from there with these opportunities and the computer and everything else? I mean, you know, their opportunities of what lay ahead of them as an adult was very minimal, just even in the 8 years. And I know you're still only scratching the surface. What have you seen with the older children that now are growing into young adults on what they've become?
As people have gone and done many different things, because we also had a nurse training program. So a lot of, in fact, I think last year we produced 50 nurses.
Wow.
And they all went and got amazing jobs. But one of the outstanding features about these children, I mean, it really is truly outstanding, how much they love the monastery. And they keep coming back to help, you know.
Right.
So the nurses look after the clinic, ex-student, and they do it free, you know, or they come and help with the food, they come and help with the teaching. They're always there, always connected to this beautiful place. So that's
connected to the love, connected to the heart. It is their heart and soul, isn't it? Yeah.
So I think, I'm not keeping a track of everybody, but I see familiar faces all the time. Certainly those children on the cover, I still see them, but they've grown up a lot, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I remember my trick was to get them to high-five me at this point. But now, of course, even when I'm right up there.
Yes. Yeah.
So yes.
What a wonderful thing to see, you know, because I mean, around the world, I still don't understand this in this day of opulence in so many countries, uneven opulence, of why we still have children hungry, why we still have children uneducated, why we still have so many children in foster care. And you know, another gentleman I interviewed who started a backpack for foster children, it's just so escalated, he's actually opening a foster children university purely for foster children. And that came from him being a foster child, again, his journey. And this is the thing, is the power. When you see something as an invitation to become a part of it, don't go, you know, I don't have the tools to do it. Just go in with your hammer, start, you know, hammering a few nails, and you will actually find a whole lot of other carpenters and builders and architects will turn up, right? It's just, again, start the process.
Very good advice. I remember there was somebody, a cousin of my wife, just came for dinner, and she said, I want to do a charity, but you know, I want to help these children, but how do I get the regulations and what sort of structure should I have? And I said, why don't you just go there and start helping, and everything will happen.
Yes,
you know?
but that's the thing. It's the, you know, the gift of the present is in the now, but it's also in the unwrapping of that present, that gift, and seeing what really is there. And how can you help until you immerse yourself into the process and see what is needed? And then in that vibration that you resonate from, you are then the invitation to other people to come and join it. Because again, as humans, we want to belong to something that makes a difference. So if you set a platform and invite people, you know, I've got a whole nonprofit organization I'm about to open up that's all about helping people get back on their feet again. And it's just poised, just waiting for that right person I've got out there right now in the universe waiting for you to kind of help that side of it, because I know what my instrument is, but I need a few other instruments myself right now for this orchestra that can help me move forward. And that's the point. Just go and do, and then you will invite the other people, you'll see what's needed, and you'll send out those little vibrations. And you had no idea when you landed there at that monastery what it would be today, 8 years later. Only 8 years, and look at the impact you've had. Look at the lives that you've changed. But it's not just the lives at the monastery, it's the lives of everybody that's gone to the monastery, right? And all the people that have read the book, that can't go to the monastery, you've brought the monastery to them. And this is the thing about life. It's inspiration that becomes the invitation. And when you inspire someone, it may be nothing to do with the monastery, but you may set them on a path of helping somebody that's in their own community. And that's what it's really about. So how do they support the monastery? How do they get your book? How do they find you?
Well, the best place is www.inletrust.org.uk. Inle Trust is INLETRUST. If you go to the website, you've got a donation section. You can buy the book. And the book is available on Amazon. It's available in most countries, although bookshops these days don't stock.
Right, we don't have bookshops anymore. It's so sad.
But you can order from any bookshop.
Yeah.
So as long as you have the Inle Trust website details, maybe you put it on, then I think they will get through to me, they'll get through to the book, and they'll get through to the charity. And I think also they'll enjoy going through the website, because there are really interesting things there, pictures going back 8 years, or the monastery was at that time what it is now. Water factory works, So there are lovely things on there to enjoy, if nothing else.
And of course, now you have become an interviewer yourself. And and you're out there interviewing people making a difference. It's really wonderful, isn't it? It's really wonderful to meet people making a difference in the world. You're enjoying it?
And really enjoying it. I think it all happened because of an interview like yours. I remember when the first edition of the book came out in 2014, I was interviewed by some TV station, and they enjoyed the interview so much. The owner phoned me up and said, "Why don't you have your own show?"
Hey, owner! and the thing that you got a speaking voice, which really.
But to be fair, he said, "Why don't you have a chat show?"
Okay.
I declined that, and I said, "No, I'd like something a bit more meaningful."
Yes.
And carry on this discovering humanity. Discovering our world. That's sort of
right. And allowing the time, I'm not a quick 15-minute show. We have opened up so many gifts here today, so much information, so much people can apply to their lives, or inspire them to go and take another step in another direction, doing something. And you don't get that in short ones. If you're willing to respect the person you're interviewing and unravel them and see what's in the core. And for me, it's always about the why you did it. And you were seeking your spiritual path. You had no idea where it was going to go. Your blessed wife put you on the right direction and you accidentally, the universe has its own beautiful way of getting you where you need to go. And there you are. Look at the lives that have changed, yours and everybody that's to do with it. And we want that meaningful purpose, but then we've got to be willing, to surrender and allow and follow the path that's before us. And sharing these stories is one of the reasons that really helps people find their own path. The strength, the courage, the tenacity.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. As I said, I was so excited to do this one more show. The children, happy children resonates in such a vibration that it immerses itself through your heart and your soul and your spirit, and you cannot help but smile from the inside out, and every part of you cannot help but smile. And they say smile and the whole world smiles with you. We need these smiles, we need these smiling faces, and a lot more people need to step into joy as well as meaningful purpose, and stop feeding the fear, start feeding the love, and you'll see the shift change as you embrace that. And so your TV channel now, where is that?
Again, if you go on to the Inle Trust website, then I think there is a section that says TV programs, and you can click on and take you to the TV channel. So
yes.
everything there, it's an amazing place, the website.
Yes, it's one-stop.all, absolutely. And wonderful. Thank you so much for coming here with us today. And it's been an absolute pleasure. And what you're doing is, these are the type of stories that completely grab my heart. People making the difference in the life of our children, our future leaders. The more we love, invest, and nurture and prepare them for the future, the better future leaders they're going to be, and they're going to be the ones to bring about that peace and equilibrium that we so desperately need. So let's make sure that we nurture those children, because while we're nurturing them, they're feeding us, and everybody wins. So it's really beautiful. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And to everyone else, remember, it doesn't have to be something big. He didn't go to make this big thing. He met the children. They needed computers. It started there. Look where it is now. Maybe you don't want such a big journey. Maybe you're one of the people that prefers to be a participant of something that's already in works. It doesn't matter what it is. Just be willing to step outside of your own world and step into humanity and be a part of the solution. Because we created the problem, but we're also the solution if we're willing to step up into it. So until next time, folks, bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.